Are you guys sure that these are the right people to bring onto television? It feels to me like some of these people who are brought to these news shows are there to simply say what the owners of the channels believe. Welcome to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. I'm Katlego and would appreciate it if you subscribed to our YouTube channel, shared the video with another citizen, and joined our channel membership. I was listening to this man and I couldn't believe the words coming out of his mouth. Is this a man that is supposed to be an expert on something? Really? Really? Regarding the Government of National Unity Agreement, he said the dumbest things that for some reason keep circulating. Listen to this man.
And when you look at the statement of intent, what is very clear is that although they call it GNU, the reality is that there are two parties that anchor that particular, that will be anchoring this particular GNU, and that is the ANC and the DA.
And what is wrong with that? What option did the ANC have? Were they supposed to beg the MK party to work with them when the MK party had actually said it wouldn't work with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa?
You're asking me about the Cyril Ramaphosa ANC. We won't engage with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. We can have a discussion with the ANC. But the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa? How is that possible?
In reality, how does that work? Cyril Ramaphosa is the leader of the ANC.
We will not engage in a discussion with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa.
Which ANC?
The ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. We can have a discussion with the ANC. We'll engage with the ANC, but not the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa.
Which one are you going to?
Which the current ANC is under who?
So are you saying, as long as Cyril is the leader of the ANC,
we won't engage with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. It's bought. The presidency was bought. It's a fact. So how are we going to engage the president as a traitor who is bought?
So the question is direct. He's saying as long as he's
and my response is direct.
You're not going to engage.
My response is direct. It's clear. We're not going to engage with the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa.
Did they have such a shopping list?
Were they supposed to beg to work with the EFF? Listen to Fikile Mbalula talking about what happened when he tried to talk to the EFF.
Because the EFF are the people we regard as close to us in the left. We didn't go to the DA and ask them to govern. We didn't. I went to Julia's party, EFF, and asked them. And then he said, no, we can't govern with you. You are corrupt. I did, because I thought this is where we are. He doesn't define himself on the right. And ANC people, some of them said, you are not talking enough with the EFF. EFF gave us 10 commandments to answer. I've never had such a difficult homework, even in my school days. You know, writing a homework and all of that, and then send it back to Floyd. And then he marks red, all of it. I said, no. They became principals, marking our homework and everything. Yeah, marking it red all the way. We went back. We said, Comrades, we failed.
Why are people talking as if the ANC chose the DA from the start? The DA and the MK party were the ones that were sour and hostile towards the ANC. But when the ANC made lemonade with the DA, people that hate facts want to act like there's some conspiracy from the private sector to marry the ANC to the DA. So you see this man. He's one of the people that I find extremely irritating. Not because of what he believes, but because of who he tells more of this rubbish to. He's contributing to the dummification of our nation. Guess what? He's a lecturer at UNISA.
For more on this, we are joined by Mametlwe Sebe, who's a lecturer at UNISA.
That's right. A lot of these backward-thinking social justice warriors somehow end up in universities educating our future. No wonder we get students burning tires, toy-toying, breaking statues, and destroying buildings.
There is no way in which facts will operate.
So the police moved in.
Au.
These students reacted angrily when they were refused entry into a university building in Johannesburg. Outnumbered and under fire, security guards hurled rocks back at the protesters. What started peacefully descended quickly into violence when the students didn't get their way.
The public violence, we've never planned any violence. And I can confirm you now, as young people in the country, we've never sat down and resolved that our struggles must be resolved through violence and other means of struggle besides peaceful protest and so on and so forth. Whatever we've done it because we're responding to the conditions on the ground. And Comrade, my lawyer, Comrade is a very good lawyer who spoke very well, advocates after all, spoke very well and presented a clear defense on my case, which was not fraudulent, which was not cooked, honest and credible.
Is there a regret on your part, therefore, Mr. Kanyile, that there was such violence played out in 2016?
No, there's no regret. In fact, if the conditions were to repeat itself, if I were to be put in the same place I was in 2016, I was going to react the same or react more than what I've done.
They are being conditioned and instructed by people like this, being radicalized by adults who have no idea what they're talking about. The communist lecturer continues.
When you look at the decision-making, right, they say that decisions will be taken on the basis of consensus, failing which a sufficient consensus, which would be on the basis of 60% of the representation in the National Assembly, which means it will only be possible on the basis of the agreement between the ANC and the DA. And that gives a DA effectively a veto over any legislation, over any policy, over any appointment of the ministers.
Where does the GNU agreement even state that the ANC and the DA will be the only decision makers when considering the consensus? The GNU is made up of more parties than the ANC and the DA. If you have a problem with the ANC and the DA having so much power, then go tell it to the EFF and MK party. They are the ones that failed to capitalize and work with the ANC, are they not?
That is really a subversion of democracy, because what that statement of intent does, it locks the ANC into a sort of an arrangement, a coalition arrangement, where every single decision of any importance in regard to governance has to be vetoed by the DA.
Guess what? Many more parties keep joining the GNU even now, which means that decision-making will not be up to the DA only.
The UDM, Rise Mzansi, announced their participation in the Government of National Unity, abandoning the Progressive Caucus. We understand that one of those political parties actually was part of the Progressive Caucus.
Top leaders, the UDM saying that once it has signed the agreement, further details will be shared on the GNU agreement terms. And
Rise Mzansi became the 9th party to join the Government of National Unity. This follows the UDM party's announcement yesterday,
where every single decision of any importance in regard to governance has to be vetoed by the DA.
This idea that the DA will veto anything, as this lying professor said, is not indicated anywhere in the agreement document. Consensus is the method by which decisions will be made, which means the EFF, MK, and any other party has the power to vote on those decisions too, since all this will be voted on in the National Assembly. So how exactly does a DA simply veto things? Come on, man. Come on. The DA, IFP and the ANC were the founding members, but as more parties join the GNU, the DA will hold less and less power within the GNU. The DA's power to veto anything relies heavily on no one else joining the GNU, which means the more parties that join the GNU, the weaker the DA becomes in the GNU. Clearly, we can see that many other parties are joining the GNU, so obviously that is a clear lie already. I'll make a video on this soon. The bottom line is, just like a lot of the people we have seen talking about the GNU so far, this lecturer is lying. He goes on with his lies.
The DA which we know is a party really of the white privilege, and the party that is unashamedly committed to a most brutal forms of, exploitation of the black working class in this country that they want to strip of every right, including the right of strike, the right, to a minimum wage, and other basic conditions that they want to erode, in addition to, of course, austerity measures and cuts on public spending on essential public services, including education, health, and other services essential to the quality of life of many black working class people in this country.
Guys, there are policies that I do not support from the DA, but this lecturer is a disgusting liar. Simple as that. Where did he get the facts for that? It's nowhere in the DA manifesto. They've never said it. He is an embarrassment to UNISA. How is it that this man is even a lecturer at UNISA? How? We have too many liars in high positions in this country.
The DA, which we know is a party really of the white privilege.
The budget, you see, is pro the rich in the Western Cape. Go to Philippi, go to Khayelitsha, go to Danone. You'll see filth everywhere. You see, no, they don't do what we call sanitation services for the poor. And that's where these are basic issues. Those who live in the Western Cape, I can tell you, they will tell you that the budget of the DA focuses in Kloof Street, it focuses in Kemps Bay, it focuses in Tableview, where the DA members are, for Constantia and so on. Now, an example is that the poor in the Eastern Cape is very poor, lives in shacks.
Now, I think I'm glad that sanitation was mentioned. If you look at the City of Cape Town's budget over the next 3 years, 850 million is being spent in Gugulethu to ensure that pipes are laid for sanitation. So again, I'm not talking about how I feel. I'm talking about facts that can be found inside a budget. It is a complete lie to say that the City of Cape Town, that the Western Cape, that the DA is anti-poor, because the best service delivery in South Africa to the poor happens inside the Western Cape, and it happens inside Cape Town. And you can shake your head, but it's the reality. Now, we must also not forget that the Western Cape, Cape Town, Midvaal, Tshwane, they all still exist inside South Africa that's run by an ANC national government. Poverty isn't a Western Cape issue. Poverty is a South African issue. The ANC has run, for example, Joburg for years. We were given a small opportunity. We were taken out. They always mention the difference between the Cape Town CBD and Gugulethu. But here you've got the richest square mile in terms of Sandton, and you cross the highway, you have Alex. So it's a completely ridiculous analysis to make, and it lacks intellect.
I've been asking this question for a long time, and no one gives me clear evidence. Where is the evidence that the DA is a party of white privilege? Where is it? If you have it, please email me documents or links to articles or videos or any evidence, please. The email address is in the description box below. White people in this country are not enough to give the DA 20% of the vote that we saw going to the DA. Many black people are members of the DA. Many black people voted for the DA, both rich and poor. Why does a lecturer choose to lie to South Africa for no reason?
Is unashamedly committed to a most brutal forms of, exploitation of the black working class in this country that they want to strip of every right, including the right of strike, the right,
What is this brutal exploitation that this lying lecturer is talking about? Someone please tell me. What exploitation has the DA ever done or proposed to do? The right to strike. Where did you hear that the DA wants to remove the right to strike? Anyone who read the manifesto knows that the DA wanted unions to pay a deposit before striking to cover any damage to property they caused during their strike. If they cause the damage, then it will be covered. Why? Because as we all know, in the past, unions have been trashing towns and cities, throwing waste and breaking things.
Some protest action shutting down major roads in the CBDs. Thousands of eThekwini workers from solid waste, water, electricity units want their salaries packages to match that of other workers in other metropolitan municipalities. Metro Police have had their hands full trying to mend the roads and clear garbage strewn across major routes. In Verulam town, Motorists and local residents say the protest action has had a negative impact on them.
This is utterly disgraceful. There's a way to do it. You do it peacefully and get everything in order.
Hawkers say their businesses along the affected routes were severely impacted.
If it wasn't for the protest, I would have made like 1,000 rand now, or 800 rand now. But because of the protest affected us, I know I even touched 600 rand or 500 rand.
If you strike in an orderly manner, you get your deposit back. And if you wreak havoc, we use your deposit to repair what you destroyed. Does that sound like removing the right to strike? It sounds like they want to protect our property from violent union protests. The union must control its protests to make sure rioting does not occur, to make sure that violence does not occur. You see why I say when you see these interviews and speeches, take time to do a quick Google search to ensure that you're not being lied to. In this case, you are being subjected to some disgusting lies. Sir, you're too old to embarrass yourself like this in public. You should be ashamed. The DA never said they wanted to take away the right to a minimum wage. Guys, I'm not even going to explain this one. I've spoken about this. Either check out the DA manifesto video I made or the other video I made named Who is Right about the DA. And there you can find out more about this particular lie. It is a very common lie being used by a lot of people that support communist agendas. This lecturer is clearly a communist. You can usually tell by the lies.
As we have seen, there's been a serious lobbying, by the bourgeois class, by the monopoly capitalists. There is a talk about the market and so on. And I think the whole talk about the market is so mystified that it's almost as if it's a law of nature that these markets are not made really of social interest with a vested material interest in the economic policy and how the distribution of the wealth of society actually is allocated through a government policy in particular.
Here we go. It didn't take long. Bourgeois this and that. Monopoly capitalist this and that. At the end of the day, most of the people who are complaining against the GNU are simply people who are ignorant liars and who are communists like this lecturer here. To make matters worse, they are the bourgeoisie of this country. They say they are communists and yet they are usually either upper middle class or actually rich. Julius Malema is rich. This man is a lecturer. He's definitely not a poor person. So who is this bourgeoisie that he's talking about if it's not him? Repeating the usual lies that you hear from Floyd Shibambu, Julius Malema, Kosatu, SACP. He's simply a communist. I would not be surprised if he's a former union leader, this one. Communist lecturer, here's Fikile Mbalula again to remind you that the ANC was not forced by anyone but the EFF and the MK party.
The EFF are the people we regard as close to us in the left. We didn't go to the DA and ask them to govern. We didn't. I went to Julia's party, EFF, and asked them. And then he said, no, we can't govern with you. You are corrupt.
Why is it that these communists believe in conspiracy theory so much?
And what we are seeing here is, the pressure on the ANC to go into alliance with the DA, but under terms, which basically translate into this, that you are going to be using the overwhelmingly black working class vote to actually appoint a white party as a government that has been rejected over 30 years by the overwhelming majority of the population.
Calm down, communist lecturer. There's no boogeyman behind the GNU. Your own EFF and MK parties failed to put their differences aside to work together to rescue South Africa next to the ANC. Not that they would have managed to get that job done anyway.
You have a monopoly capitalist interest in the economy who are hell-bent on carrying out a restructuring not only of government, but of the entire economic or macroeconomic framework, much further than the way that the ANC has done after 30 years of relentless neoliberal attacks and austerity on the working class. They want to take that much further.
What's wrong with the restructuring of government? The government needs restructuring. Which country have you been living in, Mr. Communist Lecturer? If you have been living in the same South Africa as the rest of us, don't you think we need some serious restructuring in this country? I think you don't deserve your position at UNISA. We also need restructuring there. You can't tell me that this is the brain instructing and preparing our young people in university. No way. What kind of a lecturer is this? That is just parroting what communists have repeated instead of thinking logically and independently. Our country is in a mess because we don't have enough businesses employing our people. Companies are closing down and retrenching. Skilled labor is leaving the country, and all of that is because of the ANC. But you're going to buzz on and on as if you're some intellectual. Why were you even invited to come to talk on that channel? I don't think you should be allowed to have a class, not even a grade R class, because you have no idea where wealth comes from. You have no idea what it takes to make this country better.
My comrades, I have a very brief message. Our demands are very brief. We have said it before, and I think it's important.
For some reason, you're not even being asked questions to challenge you. It seems you were called to come and vomit, spill, and regurgitate. You were invited to come and spread propaganda. They simply brought you here to talk and talk and talk. No fact-checking you at all. That's enough. South Africa, as you can see, this is a lecturer funded by our taxes telling you that companies you work for are bad. Companies you own are bad, even though they are the ones that pay his salary. The communist lecturer is embarrassing himself and UNISA, an institution that once was prestigious. Now, is this the best they have? I hope there are better lecturers there. I really do. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concern, and until next time, beware of the comrades.